There we are.
Christmas trees try so hard.
Ooh, I get a Reese's commercial.
It is Tuesday, December 4th, 2018. You are locked into twitch.tv/hitting the marks, and this is HTM Sports. My name is Jargo. I will be your host for the day, but please give it up, ladies and gentlemen, of course, for my tag team partner, the guy who thinks he could beat me off the line, the OG Huckleberry, RBV. Rick, welcome back to HTM Sports.
It's me. It's that honor the B and the V. Rick Vickery here, guaranteeing that I would smoke your ass off the line there. Come on, man. You got that lip now.
That's true. I'm not nearly in as good a shape as I was when I was 17 years old.
And even back in the day, I would have blown by you. They would have thought it would have been that missed call from the Steelers game. That's how much I would have been by you.
Oh, fantastic. Of course, we will talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and all that was Week 13 in the NFL here in just a little bit. But, Rick, we got to start things off with the stories of the week. And by week, I mean WEAK. And I'm talking, of course, about my beloved Green Bay Packers. Mike McCarthy out as the coach in Green Bay, Wisconsin on Aaron Rodgers' birthday. Happy birthday, Aaron Rodgers. You are getting a new coach this year for your birthday present. Huckleberry, what are your overall thoughts about McCarthy being fired? I feel like this was going to happen regardless at the end of the season, but you can't lose to Arizona at home and expect to keep your job.
Well, I'm going to say this was everyone saw this coming. Maybe not now. This timing certainly seemed okay because, I mean, this is a devastating loss for a team, that had playoff aspirations. But it seemed like something that they could have waited on. There wasn't really an urgency to pull the trigger here. But maybe there was because they were getting pressure from their star player. So now it looks like the turnaround where, over the last couple of weeks, all that praise for Rodgers, he's the one keeping us in this thing. He's our only star. He just needs the tools. Everyone was giving him the credit there for holding the ship together. But now I don't know if it's so much a happy birthday because he's getting a lot of heat on his birthday because the media, the fans have all turned this around that Mike McCarthy's firing. This is Aaron Rodgers' fault.
I don't know if I necessarily think that it's Aaron Rodgers' fault. I think the big thing, though, Aaron Rodgers is making $33 million a year. Mike McCarthy's making $6.5 million a year. I mean, if it comes down to a call between one or the other, you're going with Aaron Rodgers.
But at this point in the game, is it a necessity? Because look at everything that McCarthy has gave to the Packers, to that city. Such a great tenure there to see it end like this.
Well, Aaron told us at the beginning of the season that this team was piss poor. Once again, he was absolutely right. This team is piss poor. There's nothing going on in Green Bay right now other than Aaron Rodgers, who is vastly overpaid.
Well, I was going to say then, going back, Rodgers sitting there complaining in the preseason, this team is piss poor. We've got to step it up. We have to define ourselves as men. A couple of his statements to this point. Well, look in the mirror. The reason you don't have the personnel around you, Rodgers, is because you're eating up so much of the salary there.
And this topic is going to be a recurring theme kind of throughout this show as things go on. Excuse me. It's been a long day. Rick, I guess the question now, of course, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, but even I'm not a delusional Green Bay Packers fan. Is Green Bay still a good job? I mean, you're in a very, very small market. The NFC North is just getting better with the exception of Detroit. Would you want to take the Green Bay job right now with Aaron Rodgers at the $33 million a year quarterback?
Well, let's look at this. There is a lot of heat on Rodgers, but, and there's some personnel issues on that entire roster that need to be addressed. But I still think, it is a destination. You still have one of the league's elite quarterbacks. That's something that new coaches, that's what they want to have when they're going into a situation like this. I think it's going to take the right fit. They're going to need someone that can gel with Rodgers. But, yeah, I would say this is still one of the premier jobs in the NFL.
Rumors are already flying that Mike McCarthy is going to land in Cleveland. I mean, we've been predicting this for weeks now. I don't think that that's any surprise. I guess the question is it a complete disaster for Cleveland if they don't get Mike McCarthy at this point?
Well, I'm going to say anyone that takes this Cleveland job, my first piece of advice is to rent, do not buy.
I agree.
And don't start unpacking for a little while. Save yourself the trouble. McCarthy's he's obviously got the ties there. We've seen some other names thrown out. If you're McCarthy, do you want to jump back into a situation this fast, or do you want some time to sit back, maybe see some other prospects open up?
Well, I guess it all comes down to what does Mike McCarthy think of Baker Mayfield, right? I mean, obviously, if he's going into Cleveland, he's going to be married to Baker Mayfield. If he doesn't like Baker Mayfield as a talent, there's no way I take that job.
Well, at first, if you go into an interview and you're not going to buy full in on Mayfield, that he is the guy, I mean, he is the face of that franchise, you're not even going to get the interview.
Yeah, I mean, this seems a foregone conclusion.
That's number one on qualifications for this job is you must be in love with this kid.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hearing rumors of Bruce Arians to Cleveland. For some reason, it seems as though Bruce Arians really, really likes Baker Mayfield, and it seems as though this is the one job that he would come out for, at least so he has said. Rick, Bruce Arians is 66 years old. I looked this up last night. He would be the second oldest coach in the league, right behind the hoodie and Brady and the Patriots, who we'll talk about a little bit later here as well. I don't know. If I'm Bruce Arians, wouldn't you rather have the Green Bay job at this point?
Well, I think, that Green Bay job, it's like we're saying, I think there's going to be a line of individuals there. But to speak to the Browns real quick, he's definitely got to be a name on their list. I think there might be more interest from the Browns than on the other side. But, hey, I know up here in Northeast Ohio, they're really happy with the interim coach. The job that he is doing, he's gotten his team back on track. They're excited each and every week. Greg Williams, they're excited about where he is taking his team. I think he's going to have a little legitimate shot. But I'm going to throw it out there. Let's fire it up. Let's get the rumor mill going because it's already starting around here. Urban Meyer is your next head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
Of course, we have seen that Urban Meyer has, quote unquote, retired from the Ohio State University. He is going to be around to coach the Rose Bowl, it seems, and send these players off officially. And then it's the offensive coordinator that will be taking over as the head coach there at the Ohio State University?
That is correct. Ryan Day will be taking over. He'll be taking the reins. And just to kind of put everything to bed there, when I say that Urban Meyer, or even make the suggestion that Urban Meyer is going to take the Browns job, that's not in his heart. That's not in his immediate future. He just had his press conference just an hour or so before we took to the air here. Very heartwarming, and you can tell stepping down here, it was a very tough decision. Something that has been weighing on him for a long time. But unfortunately, the demands of being a football coach, especially at a program like the Ohio State, physically, mentally, emotionally, the toll, his health is in shambles, having issues there, just for himself and his family. If he can't give Ohio State, those players, what they deserve, he needs to step away, and that's what he's doing right now.
Any chance Urban Meyer was forced out here?
I saw you on Facebook. Was it you and Eric Lake? You guys are all over this thing. Oh, he's stepping down because the scandal's about to erupt. I think you've been hanging out with Billy Ray Valentine too much. Everything's not a conspiracy that's going here.
I mean, look at the track record here. It's not like there's not where there's smoke, there's fire here. I mean, come on.
You have that one instance.
Oh, that one instance, where he covered for that assistant coach that beat his wife. Just that one instance.
Hey, and you're acting like he was standing in the room.
Oh, no. I understand, man. I'm with you. But I'm saying if there is something coming down. We saw this with Pete Carroll at USC where he got out while the getting was good.
Now, at this point, he has got a lot of issues going on health-wise. Yeah, the headaches, the severity, they are growing each and every day. And when you're dealing with that, you can't make that full commitment to what it takes to be successful at the level of a program of the Ohio State. And you and I talked earlier this morning when this news first broke. Why now for the timing? Why now? Why not wait? Well, he addressed that, and it's very clear, and it makes a lot of sense. In doing so now, it's best for the program because what's coming up here?
Recruitment.
National Signing Day.
You betcha.
And if he is on as the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes when those kids sign those scholarships and then he leaves, all those kids are free to leave as well.
The way I count it up, there's going to be about 7 teams, including the Green Bay Packers, to kind of bring this thing full circle, that are going to be looking for head coaches this year. How many of those calls do you think Urban Meyer's taken? Because the phone's going to ring.
Hey, it's going to ring. I would hope out of respect, they just go through some feelers that they're not, really blowing him up. And I don't really think he's going to take a lot of interviews. If I'm him, take the entire year off. If the illness is as serious, as they're making it out, then take the year off. Hey, if anything else, though, show up at a game day. ESPN, Fox Sports, they're spending money left and right. They'd love to have him on board. Hey, you talking about a big name to bring in? Like I'm saying, Fox is spending money everywhere. They're giving WWE, they're giving MLS. They're bringing everybody in. They just got that Big Ten deal. What better name to bring in as an analyst for your college football than Urban Meyer?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm also hearing this rumor of Jim Harbaugh to Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm going to kibosh that here real quick. I looked this up the other day. At the University of Michigan, Jim Harbaugh is making $4.5 million a year more than Mike McCarthy was. I mean, come on. There's no way Jim Harbaugh is leaving Michigan unless they tell him that he's leaving Michigan.
Hold on. How about this? Jim Harbaugh goes to Green Bay, and then the very next day, the Browns announce that Urban Meyer's going to Cleveland. And then he just follows him to the NFL and just keeps whooping that ass.
That would be fantastic. Let's talk about another coach that was fired. This is our first NBA conversation on the show, and his name is Fred Hoiberg. Fred Hoiberg out as the coach of the Chicago Bulls. And Rick, I find this absolutely fascinating because this is not because of the terrible record that the Bulls have. It is being cited by general manager John Paxson that this is because of the attitude of this team. There's no energy. They need to do something to shake things up there in Chicago. The thing that is fascinating about this to me, of course, being in the state of Iowa, I have watched Fred Hoiberg forever. He was the coach at Iowa State for years before he took the job in Chicago. This is completely un-Fred Hoiberg. None of this is making any sense to me. And just now, the Chicago Bulls, they're only 2 players away from having all of their starting 5 healthy. Like, they didn't even give Hoiberg a chance here.
Well, coming out of the gate so slow, the 5 wins this season, as you said, it's not really telling of the story of the team this year. They're dealing with so much. And now we've got this other story that maybe there wasn't something clicking in the locker room. And unfortunately, when you have an atmosphere like that, you cut off the head. And that's what happened here. And maybe this is a blessing in disguise for Hoiberg. He can take a step back, go somewhere else, reinvent himself, find that love. But when you put this on the run here, you ask the question, is the job in Chicago, is it still a good job? Is it worthwhile? As we were talking about Green Bay, is it a place that people want to go? And I really started thinking about the franchise itself and thinking about NBA in our lifetime, Jargo. We're both in our 30s, and we've seen some great dynasties, some great basketball, through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s to now. And it seems each and every time we have seen one of those great dynasties, and every dynasty has their end. But, the Celtics, the Lakers, the Pistons, the Bulls, it always seems like, within 10 to 12 years, they regenerate. And they're back winning championships. Not just making appearances, not just one, but they're going back to back. They're back as a major player. The case with the Chicago Bulls, who in our generation is arguably the greatest dynasty in all of sports, it's been 20 years since their last, that last run, that last championship, really since they were a threat. Chicago just hasn't been able to get back on track.
Well, okay. I'm number one, I am not a Chicago Bulls fan, as you can see. In honor of the Chicago Bulls, I'm wearing my Seattle Supersonics gear because Jordan and the Bulls absolutely robbed Gary Payton that year. So here's my thing with the Bulls. They attach themselves, it's very much like the WWE. They attach themselves to Derrick Rose. And when his knees went out, so did any hopes of the new Bulls dynasty. They've had to rebuild already when they should be right in the middle of the Derrick Rose era in Chicago. His knees couldn't take the weight of that franchise.
Well, it's just, nice pun there. But they've had some other big players. They had a great young group around him.
Yep.
That all, they thrived a little bit without him. Jay Williamson from Duke was supposed to be a savior there, who gets into the motorcycle accident.
Joakim Noah.
Yeah, they've had a string of bad luck, but still they haven't been able to get back over that hump where we've seen those other franchises, like the Lakers, the Pistons, the Celtics, so on. But even with all of that, the city of Chicago, they have continued to support and love the Chicago Bulls. Even this year, with everything you're saying, the turmoil within the team, only five times did they get to the winners column. They got 5 wins, and they're still second in attendance in the league with 20K plus a night.
I rip on the Chicago fans a lot, especially Cubs fans. And I call them the most delusional fan base that I've ever seen in my life. They are loyal to a fault inside of the Windy City. That is for absolute certain. So, Huckleberry, let's go ahead. Let's throw things over to the college football playoff here. And let's talk a little bit about what is going on here. Number one, we have Alabama and Clemson. They take care of business. Absolutely no problems. Then we have the University of Notre Dame. They survived the bye week in the game that Georgia put out, the game that Ohio State put out, and the game that Oklahoma put out. There was a fear that Notre Dame could potentially fall out of this thing, but none of the teams performed well enough to knock them out in a bye week. So that leaves us with Oklahoma getting the nod, Ohio State coming in at number 6, Georgia only falling to number 5 after the showing that they put out against Alabama. Rick, what do you think of this thing? Do you like the way that this is shaked out? Because while I think they have the right 4, I think they have the seeding completely wrong.
Well, there's so many different directions we can come at this thing. And I guess, this is, it's a cause for great debate. For days, I have been, involved, just on my personal page, in the Hami Media discussion group, multiple sports groups on Twitter, real life, sitting around the bar. Everyone's got a take on this thing. And I think that's the biggest issue, that when they're choosing these teams, it's the 13 individuals on that committee, and they're kind of, we talked about this. There's no set guidelines to let us know, what qualifies you for this Final Four situation for these big stakes. And so it's all for interpretation. It's up for debate. I think, and you keep hearing the best 4. I want to say in my mind, I think they got 3 of the 4 right.
What? And who would you take out?
The one I don't like in there is Notre Dame. It seemed like they limped to the finish line. They knew they could play the odds because they have the advantage of not being in a conference, and it played to their favor this year. And if you look at the teams you've listed here, these top 6 teams, I would put Notre Dame 6 if you're telling me from top to bottom who's the best to the worst.
I would actually agree with that. I would agree with that.
The way the system works is they're there. Then you go to the next great debate is, well, who should be in that spot? Should it be Georgia or Ohio State? I don't know, it's maybe too much for us to get in, with our time here. But I would have them out. And one of my biggest arguments over the last couple of days is let's not argue about expanding this thing. I don't think that's the answer. I think the answer is forcing Notre Dame to join a conference. Because one of the things when you look at this bracket, essentially what we're getting is an ACC championship as a semi-national championship.
Yep, Notre Dame versus Clemson. If this was any sport other than football, this would be the ACC championship. And I feel like the reason I say I feel like they have the seeding wrong. I feel like Notre Dame should be 4. I don't feel like we should be getting Oklahoma and Alabama in the semifinal. Because I feel like that's going to be the best game of the 3 games.
Well, I think in a committee's mind, they probably came to, the majority that they thought Clemson was going to be there. So that's why they said, hey, let's play it safe. Let's play it safe. We'll hope that maybe Oklahoma gets 2 good games out of this because Oklahoma's going to be a ratings machine here. I mean, Notre Dame's going to get your ratings, but they don't really stand a chance against any of these teams. Hey, from my boy that's always on 5 times, my boy 2 times, he's let me in on this, just sent me a message. The spread on each of these games, the dogs, Oklahoma and Notre Dame, are getting 15.
Wow, 15.
In national semifinals games, the dogs are getting 15. And you're telling me that's competitive football?
Wow, that's crazy.
If you took out Notre Dame and Oklahoma, I guarantee those lines would be a lot closer, and you might get even better games if you inserted Georgia and Ohio State.
You giving Oklahoma a chance to beat Bama?
I think we'll get a good game for 3 quarters, and then you see, Bama kind of just beat Bama and just flip that switch and dominate.
Clemson's going to blow out Notre Dame.
I have a feeling.
And then who do you like, Alabama or Clemson?
I'm going to say, hey, it might be good news for Monday Night Raw because I don't think that game's going to be all that close, especially by halftime.
Alabama in a wash. Let's talk about the Heisman finalists. We have our 3 finalists. This is going to be determined on Saturday. I'm just going to call him Tua because I've even heard this kid pronounce his last name, and I still can't pronounce it. Like Kazuchika Okada, absolutely no problem. Hiroshi Tanahashi, yep, absolutely. This kid's name, it's like Tungi Ovalio or something like that. We're just going to go with Tua. He is the quarterback at the University of Alabama. He's a sophomore. He's up for the Heisman this year. We have Kyler Murray, a junior out of the University of Oklahoma. And we have Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback at your Ohio State University. Huckleberry, which one of these 3 do you like as a prospect going forward? And who do you think is going to win the Heisman? And is it the same person?
I know what you're probably thinking what I was going to do here, that I'm going to go with the homer. Ohio versus everyone. To me, what he really breaks out, you look at the stats, they're so evenly matched. So you got to really look at what this award's about. And this is about the finding absolute best player in college football. And sometimes, that needs to go beyond the stats. I'm talking, about the actual player himself, the leader, the personal individual. And to me, with Haskins, he is an amazing character, so well-spoken, represents the program to the highest. But when you get that, to take away some of those great numbers, when you look at what defined the Buckeye season is probably when he let them down the most. Obviously the bad game against Purdue, and just outside even that when people brought up, what's just one loss of Purdue, they struggled against Nebraska. They struggled
They should have lost the Maryland game.
The Maryland game. In those games where they really struggled, he was really down. And it's almost like they caught breaks in those 2 games instead of actually winning them. And I think that's what the committee actually saw, and kept Ohio State out with. With 2 of them in Bama, there's no question how good he is. I mean, he's got the heart of a champion. Even when he's not down often, but when he is, he leads them right back. He stands in there. He shows no fear. We saw that, in the winning drive against Georgia. But I think when it comes down to it, on the field, the way he's shown his character upfield, kind of how he represents himself, I got to go with Murray.
I agree with you. I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray is absolutely my Heisman Trophy winner this season. Hey, that's supposed to be my camera, not your camera. Hey, put me on the air. Oh, stupid technology doesn't like me. Oh, it says that you're me. How about that? We'll just go back to the split.
Hey, we're just lucky to have internet right now, right?
Yeah, there is that. We weren't even sure the show was going to happen today. I'm going with Murray. I think he's the best college football player, even though I don't think that he is the best NFL prospect out of this group. Just with what he can do with his legs, what he can do with his arm, the way that he has led that team. I absolutely think Kyler Murray is the best player in college football this season.
I think just one more note on it. Interesting stat for anyone out there. We picked it up this morning. We were both kind of shocked by it. Only the 7th time in 84 outings that all 3 finalists have been quarterbacks.
Fascinating stuff. Let's throw things over to the NFL here. Huckleberry, Week 13's a little bit of a mess, and I got a couple of teams that I felt like we needed to talk about here. And number one is the damn New England Patriots. Because the New England Patriots are going to win this whole goddamn thing again. I feel like this is a foregone conclusion. The Patriots are the best team inside of the AFC. We're going to talk AFC today. We'll talk NFC next week. But Rick, yesterday, Tom Brady and the Patriots, 9 receivers, 7 different guys running the ball. You want to talk about spreading things out and how to run a franchise without relying on just one guy? It seems as though the Patriots have mastered this thing.
Well, really, this is about the time where the Patriots just hit that next level. We see this time and time again from them. It's always reload, and they find new ways to kind of just, especially, can you imagine have to be a defensive coordinator planning for this team?
Ridiculous.
You think you've got them figured out, and then they just rewrite their own book?
9 receivers and 7 different guys running the ball.
And I know, a lot of people out there, earlier in the year, we saw a tremendous effort from the Kansas City Chiefs in Foxborough. A lot of people are still high on that, thinking if the Chiefs can get that second opportunity, especially in Arrowhead, they can get it done. I'm looking at these standings here. I think the team to be on the lookout for still remains the Houston Texans.
Yeah, that's a good point. Check this out. I got this stat yesterday. Huckleberry, this is how I can tell you the Patriots are going to win this thing. Are you ready for this? These are the quarterbacks that the Patriots could potentially play in the AFC playoffs in their record against the New England Patriots. Big Ben and the Steelers, he's got the best record. 2-8 against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. 2-8 for Big Ben. Phillip Rivers of the Los Angeles Chargers, 0-7 in his career against Brady and Belichick. The Houston Texans are 0 for the franchise. The Houston Texans have never beaten the Patriots in that team's existence. Andrew Luck, 0 for 6 against Brady and the Patriots. And then you have Patrick Mahomes, 0-1. These are the teams the Patriots are going to have to play in the playoffs. And the way the playoff picture is looking, there's a very good chance they're all going to have to go into Foxborough.
Well, I say, unless Kansas City can hold on, they still have the edge there.
Yeah, but if they end up in a tie, advantage New England. Steelers beat the Steelers over the course of the weekend. Rick, did you get to see any of this thing? The Chargers put down the Steelers 33-30, but this was a Steelers loss. This was not a Chargers win.
Hey, you know what? In Steelers Nation, they are everywhere. But being from Cincinnati, it's just we've got this infestation of Steelers fans, and a lot of them I'm friends with, so they're on my Facebook feed, and it just warmed my heart to see how upset they were, especially through the game, just repeatedly. The refs are screwing us; they're not giving us a break. The irony to hear this from Steeler Nation, they always get this favor, so I have no sympathy for the league having an off night here. But I will tell you this, this looked like it was going to be a big bounce back game for the Steelers, especially going last week into Denver and taking that tough loss. They needed to come back here, make a statement, get back on track in the playoff hunt. Good news for them is they're going to host a playoff game because they're going to end up running away here.
No, not so fast, my friend. Not so fast. I'm not even sure they're going to win this division now.
I'm not putting any faith here in Baltimore. They're going to fall apart here. And then obviously third place will be the Browns and the Bengals bringing up the hind end.
Redskins lose to the Eagles 28-13. Colt McCoy goes out and breaks a leg, literally, and enter the Sanchez. That's right. Mark Sanchez is back in the league, but fumble and all in Washington, D.C. Huckleberry, are you a fan of the Sanchez?
I've never been a fan of him.
Never been a fan.
I'm indifferent. I've never taken to him. A lot of that West Coast ball, I never really got into it. I know they were always in contention for the championships there, but I always put out a little bit more on Reggie Bush and the defense.
I love that team. I absolutely love that team. Poor Washington. Just when it seemed like they were really going to take control of that division. Alex Smith goes down. Enter Colt McCoy. Now he goes down. And now you've got the butt fumble. Good God. Let's talk about Paul Arzola and his Dallas Cowboys. They defeat the Saints 13-10 last Monday. Huckleberry, this is a big loss for Dallas. That's right. It was a big loss for Dallas. Because now they're going to have to pay Dak Prescott. That's the problem. Now they're going to have to pay Dak Prescott. Uh-oh. I lost Huckleberry. Oh, no. Jeez. Don't make me finish the show by myself, Rick. Yep, he's gone. It might be me. Maybe I'm gone. I don't even know if I'm on the air right now. Oh, damn it. Well, I guess if Huckleberry rejoins us, then Huckleberry rejoins us. And if he doesn't, then I guess he doesn't. We'll just, we'll come over here and we'll do this. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? We'll try to finish off the show just like that since we're almost done here anyway. So here is your current AFC playoff picture. Me and Huckleberry will try to talk about Dak Prescott and the big loss that was for the Dallas Cowboys and how they're going to have to pay this kid here next week. Your AFC playoff picture, as things stand right now, you have the Chiefs, number 1, the Patriots, number 2, because they own the tiebreaker over Houston, the Texans at 3, Steelers at 4, Chargers at 5, Ravens at 6, Dolphins and Colts at 7 and 8, bringing up the rear. So that's going to wrap things up for this week's show. Thanks for listening and or watching with us here at twitch.tv/Hitting the Marks. We'll be back this weekend with another edition of the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast. Until then, you can find the show on Twitter at HTMPWPod, on Facebook at Hitting the Marks. Email us at hittingthemarks@gmail.com. You can find me across all social media platforms at NotJargo. You can find RBV at The Real RBV. That's going to wrap things up for this week's edition of HTM Sports. We'll talk to you next Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right back here at twitch.tv/Hitting the Marks.